Hey there, welcome. Hi, I'm Dennis Lewis. Welcome to take two of today's live stream. We had some audio difficulties. Let's just check and see here if we're going all right, and we'll jump into today's live stream. So here's the deal. Today's Thursday. Today is about concepts. It's about big ideas. And basically, what I want to talk to you about today is moving mountains with tiny little small percentages. And you might say, well, what do you have in mind? Well, let's just start off with a little bit of context. And if you stop and think about it, the financial sector represents over 20% of the world's GDP. Okay, that's a big chunk of money. Okay, it is a lot of money. And what do they do? Well, if you sit back and think about it, largely they facilitate transactions. Think about retail banking. Think about trading, international transfers. Even when they're doing big investment banking deals, they are being financial intermediaries, and basically they take a cut of everything. So every apple that you eat, every Uber you ride in, every deal you make, the financial industry is sticking their little fingers in there and taking a little chunk of that. And you know, when you start looking at the numbers, the context really can become surprising. Just to give you an idea, in 2019, Apple had a total revenue of $260 billion. But think of all the stuff they made, all the iPhones, all the MacBooks, all the services they provided, all the work and the effort and the value they created for their users. In 2019, Tesla had 24.6 billion in revenue, but they made a whole bunch of cars, right? I mean, you can go out and see them. You can drive in a Tesla. In 2018, Visa had an annual revenue of 10.3 billion US dollars. In 2018, Western Union had an annual revenue of 5.6 billion US dollars. Okay, both of these companies, they just take little tiny percentages of transactions, of moving money from one place to another. In 2019, Bank of America had an annual revenue of 91.2 billion US dollars. Okay, that is almost 4 times Tesla. And putting it in context, they didn't build any cars. They didn't put an iPhone in your pocket. They didn't, they weren't like Walmart and they got groceries to your door, or Amazon that actually, put packages and boxes on your doorstep. Okay, it's all about tiny percentages. And where does all this go? Well, obviously, it goes straight to the shareholders and executives of the companies. That's where it goes. They're private enterprise, right? And hey, fine, that's capitalism, right? I mean, that's what's the big deal? You might say, that's the way it is. That's the way it should be. They provide a service and they make money. And for many, many years, you could consider them the veins and the arteries of our economic body. And money was hard to move. I mean, if you go back centuries, moving money was a risky business. It was definitely hard. It was money was hard to store. You had to have vaults. You had to have security guards. You had to have a sterling reputation, because we needed trusted institutions to act as caretakers in our economic system. And this played a really important role in keeping the financial system, keeping the economy alive, and they were largely responsible in a great deal of causing the Industrial Revolution and the huge economic expansion of the last couple centuries. You could make a good argument that was they played a vital role in that. And for this, they have been very handsomely paid, and they still are. But now I want you to stop a minute and say, but in 2020, things are very different. Right now, as we're talking on this live stream, I could send $1 billion US anywhere in the world uh, in seconds and for a few pennies. Okay, I need the $1 billion. I don't have them. If I did, I could send them to you just like that. And it would cost pennies, and you would get the $1 billion in literally in seconds. Maybe a minute or two, depending on, maybe if we send them on the Ethereum network, it might be a little faster than on the Bitcoin network, but that's how fast and easy it can be done. And the blockchain technology eliminates many of these core value propositions of the financial industry. It just gets rid of them. And many of these core services have become commodities, and they're really of limited value. But we still pay for them. We pay for them expensively every day. I mean, every time you take your credit card out, you're paying a hefty fee to Visa. If you go and if you have family that lives out of the country and you send them a wire transfer, you're paying out the nose. Or you send them a Western Union, and it's just boom, right to the hefty percentages. And the reality is that technology has made that far simpler. And the reality is these banks, it doesn't cost them anymore to send a transfer on their internal servers as it does for us to send them in the blockchain, or really doesn't sound much more. Sure, they've got overhead costs of keeping those servers secure and making them hacker proof, stuff that the blockchain does just by its very nature. But really the effort isn't it like it used to be. It's not that hard anymore, but we keep paying as if it were. So think about all this money flowing through the economy as energy kind of going through the power grid. And instead of thinking about it, like a costly service that is going to make a few lucky members of the society that basically just inherited their position because banks and most of the large capital behind the financial sector, they've been around for a very long time. Okay, they're not there because they built them from the ground up. They're there because they inherited the ownership of their stock in these companies. And why don't we instead take that energy flow and all those tiny percentages and put them to good use? And I'm not, put them to use for society. And, because we have the technology that makes this possible, we literally could be on the brink of a whole new paradigm shift. Imagine harnessing the power of all those tiny percentages to help the most vulnerable in our society, or using it to provide a universal basic income for everybody, okay? Just by harnessing the percentages on these transactions. Or imagine having a tiny economic engine that would help power your kids' Little League, okay? Just by taking percentages off of the payments that your Little League group does every day. And that money could be funneled into something like that. This is the idea of microeconomies. It's the idea of using technology to build what was once required humongous corporations, because it did, but no longer does. And by substituting all of that infrastructure and all of those people that are working to keep an antiquated system going, and just take that value and actually provide it back to society. And this doesn't even require taxes. It doesn't require doing it through a government institution. This could be done through private networks, private microeconomies that just work together to harness on either a big scale or a small scale the power of all these tiny percentages. And this is an example of the true potential of blockchain technology. And the truth is I'm actually right now working on a couple of several initiatives that are based on this idea. They could be based off of social media. They could be based off of nonprofit organizations. They could be based off of user groups that share a common interest. imagine doing this to fund your favorite charities. Why aren't we doing it this way? Why isn't this the new normal? And if you like this idea, if this concept resonates with you, maybe you'd be interested in collaborating. If you are, leave me a comment, reach out, let's have a talk. Maybe you think that I've been too simplistic. Maybe you think this idea of taking the whole system and turning it upside down, and using technology to commoditize economic transactions. Maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you don't think it's possible. Maybe you think it's a pipe dream. Well, tell me below, or even better, reach out to me and let's come on and debate it. Let's talk about it and say, because I'm not normally a utopian thinker. That's not who I am. I'm an entrepreneur. I believe in creating wealth. I am a capitalist. I believe in free enterprise, but I don't believe in a society where a very few powerful groups and organizations lie to us and say that in the guise of free enterprise, they're just going to stuff their pockets because they inherited and they have a privileged position, and they happen to control some networks that are quite easily substituted by new technologies. Now, the truth is that these people are very powerful and they probably don't like this concept, but the blockchain is here to stay. It can't be turned off without dismantling all of the internet, dismantling all of basically society. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, in my opinion. And the power of all these small percentages being brought together to actually create positive change in the real world for real people is something I believe that we need for a post-COVID-19 society. And it's not a far-fetched idea that has to be 50 years down the road. This could be, we're seeing COVID-19 accelerate so many things normally for the worst. Why don't we take it and accelerate some things for the better? And this is one of my the reasons I'm doing these live streams, is because these are the ideas that as entrepreneurs we can push forward and make into a new reality and a new world with new rules. So let me know what you think. I'd really like to hear some comments on this video. So give me some comments below, share them below. If you'd like to call me out and say I'm doing, it's all just a bunch of malarkey, I'm waiting for that as well. That's it. That's all for today's live stream. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, be sure to, shameless plug, grab my book, Behold the Cryptopreneurs. It's on Amazon, Kindle version, and also on paper version if you want to kill a tree or two. Won't be, maybe a branch or a twig. You can kill a twig with my book. Anyway, jokes aside, thank you very much for listening in. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you soon.